Hi, my name is Elle, and this is my voice 4 months on committing to the bit. I'm also the host of the Mage system. I think a few videos ago, I talked about how I was going residential to treat my anorexia nervosa. I did that. I went to a different state. I thought it would only be 45 days. I actually stayed at that residential for 2 months, and then I went to another place in the same state for another 2 months. So I was gone for 4 months, and then I came back. Basically, I'll talk about where I went, what happened, and do these types of places even work? Basically, just my experience. So the first place I went to was an ED place. Also, I don't know why, but it looks like I'm wearing a TikTok filter, doesn't it? Like, I don't know if you're on TikTok, but like my top lip, like there's something about this that looks like fake. Sorry. Um, anyways, the first place I went to was an ED residential. I did residential there, and then I did PHP. So I was full-time living there, and then I was living there just during the week and not on the weekends. And then the second place I went to was an IOP of sorts at a place that specialized in trauma and DID. It was run by a pretty big name in the DID business. The DID business. The trauma psychology, big name, big doctor. And he knew a lot about DID, and he was also somebody I looked up to a lot. So when I realized I had the opportunity to go there, and I've also met my max out of pocket, so I could, or it was suggested to me, and I didn't really know if I should do it or not, and then I decided to do it. And that place was a lot different than the first place, I'll say that for sure. So the ED place, I lived there full time for about a month, as I said. You had 3 meals and 3 snacks a day, and you had 5 groups a day. And pretty much the only thing you could really do at that place was smoke. I was a vapor for a while. I had at least 20 cigarettes in the span of that 4 months. Probably my voice is so damn deep. Just kidding. Oh my god, bro. Sorry, my camera fell. Anyways, the 3 meals and 3 snacks a day, and if you didn't eat them, they would offer you a meal supplement, specifically Boost. I feel people's opinions on the way Boost tastes was very divided. Some people fucking loved it, and some people thought it was disgusting. I personally thought the aftertaste of chocolate Boost tasted kind of like mac and cheese. No one else agreed with me. Every time you went to the bathroom, your piss was then inspected to make sure you didn't throw up. And I mean, when you got to a certain point, they'd only check it 30 minutes after a meal. So towards the end there, I just wasn't going to the bathroom 30 minutes after a meal. Of course, there were ways around that. I've heard of people going out into the woods to purge. Also, trigger warning for eating disorder content, I'm sorry. The groups were basically almost exclusively CBT groups, and I'm talking about the fun kind of CBT. I'm just kidding. Cognitive behavioral therapy, not the other one. Basically, even if you have like a really good residential facility, that's pretty nice. This one was pretty middle of the road, I feel like. You're still not going to be treated entirely like a person. And honestly, I feel like these places only really work if I feel like they have like a 30% success rate as to whether they help you, and whether it helps you is based off of a few things. Whether you're forced into going with an ultimatum, you actually want to recover at all, or if you never had any CBT in your life. Because I feel like if you had CBT and you go there, you're just gonna be like, I know, like it's not gonna help you that much. Because they'll just talk about like self-compassion. Just be nice to yourself, have good self-talk, say these affirmations to yourself in the mirror every time you wake up. It's like basic stuff like that. And I'm sure if you'd never heard of a cognitive distortion in your life, that would blow you away. But if you have, you would just be like, oh, when am I gonna get out of here? You know, when is smoke break coming? Anyways, I feel like the place really didn't do much for me other than showing me what normal eating looked like, because I don't think I've ever been in very long the environment of what a normal food intake looks like. And so that was what that kind of did for me. I think the therapy didn't really do anything for me. If anything, it just made me feel bad because it felt like I couldn't do the therapy and that I just was broken because it wasn't working for me. And then also, I know that there's this whole like therapeutic technique where they call it your eating disorder voice. It's this little monster that lives in your head, and it's not really you that's talking, it's your eating disorder. And I understand like pretty well why that's a really valuable technique. But honestly, I feel like I am my eating disorder. Like, I feel like I'm the same person. So, like, when people say that, it just makes me feel like I'm the monster. I don't know, because I don't know, I am the eating disorder. Anyways, I met a lot of cool people. There were a lot of like 18-year-olds at the facility. A lot of them were like 18 to 24, but there were a few older ones. One story, this one is kind of sad. There was a patient there that came there from rehab. They came there and there was, that person was 18. They were really cool. And there was another patient who was a lady and she was 30 and she came there. And most people that are like older, whenever they come to that facility, they usually feel kind of alone. And inside of the sea of like 20-year-olds, they're just like, they feel just kind of lost because there's no one there their age. But this particular 30-year-old, I think we made her feel like a kid again, which was all fun and games for a while, but then it was like kind of odd because we started joking at the table because she was very straight of a person, but then we were like, I could totally see you being a lesbian. Like, you have like the tattoos, like you would make a really good lesbian. And we were laughing about it, and she was like, yeah, maybe I'm kind of bi-curious. And then she pulled me into the room later and she was like, actually, Elle, I think I am kind of bi-curious. And I was like, okay. And anyways, she was talking to some of the other clients there on the back patio, and she was like, there was another patient there who was like a trans guy, and he was 18 and he was pre-T, and she was talking on the back patio with a bunch of other people there, and she was like, guys, I think I'm like in love with this pre-T person. And it was like they were laughing, but then they were like, huh, because like she's 30 and he's 18. Then I heard about it later. That 18-year-old kid was sitting on the patio, and the 30-year-old woman was helping him bandage up his scars. And she was like, can I kiss you? And he was like, no, what the fuck? Anyways, that lady ended up getting kicked out with this story that I'm about to tell about the person that came here from rehab. So again, this part is not funny. This is just an experience that I had. That 30-year-old woman, we'll call her Lindsay. Lindsay had just gotten PHP, and she had come back from her house, and she was prescribed a prescription benzo, and she wasn't really abusing it. It was just her prescription, but she was like an alcoholic though. So she did also like have some kind of addiction. And anyways, she got PHP. She went home for the weekend, which PHP is partial hospitalization if you didn't know. And then she came back to the facility, and she brought back some wine, and then she brought back a bottle of benzos that she hid through a hole in her blanket. And she got herself and a bunch of the 18-year-olds at the facility very drunk. I was not there during this. I was at home on PHP. She got a bunch of the like 18-year-olds drunk, and I only heard about it whenever I came back. And then whenever I came back, it was visitation day, and I think the 18-year-old that Lindsay had tried to kiss, his friends brought him like weed. And so the friend that came there from rehab, we'll call her Orange. Orange got the pin from him, and she went to the bathroom and hit it a bunch, and then she came back. And I was kind of following her around because I hadn't had weed in like 2 months, and I was like, I want some. And then we went out into the back patio, and I started talking to her, and I realized, like, oh wait, she's like really fucked up. Like, she couldn't stop laughing. She was like hallucinating people around us. And I was like, Orange, like, are you just on weed? And Orange was like barely forming a cohesive sentence. And she was like, this is so embarrassing. And so we sat down, and I was like trying to get her to tell me what happened. And it took so long to get it out of her. But like, Lindsay never offered her the benzos that she brought back into the facility, but she did tell her that was there, and that was a huge mistake. And honestly, anything that I've like learned from being around people who are addicts is that you do not want to become a drug addict. Like, it's similar to eating disorders, but it also isn't in a way, because I don't know. I guess it probably is more similar than I'm thinking. It's just, it seems more different to me because I haven't struggled with it like very much like they have. Number one, being a drug addict, it kind of turns you into a jerk who only really hangs out with people that are other drug addicts. And I don't mean to say that to be rude. Like, doing an eating disorder will kind of do the same thing to you. But and then number two, it also will make you like super obsessive. Anyways, I'll get into that. But anyways, I found her, and she was super fucked up. And we went out to the front porch, and I was trying to get her to tell me where she got the benzos. And she eventually told me, and then one of the recovery coaches came outside because she saw her stumbling through the house before we went to the front patio. And he was like, are you okay, Orange? And Orange was like, yeah, I'm good. Because the thing about being that fucked up on benzos is that you're not anxious if you're getting caught. You're not anxious at all. So she was just like, yeah, I'm good. And he was like, you seem kind of high. And she was like, no, I'm not high. And he looked at me. And in those situations, I just don't know what to do, because I definitely would have said something. And I ended up doing it. Okay, first of all, I ended up doing it once we were in private. But I was just like, I'm not saying anything. But in retrospect, I totally could have, because Orange was way too fucked up to even care if I like ratted on them or whatever. So anyways, I was like, I'm not saying anything, but like, you know what's going on. And anyways, we got Orange to come inside, and then he told the desk nurse, and then the desk nurse pulled me into a different room, and I said, she's on benzos. I did know where she got them at that point, but I just said, like, I have no earthly idea where she got them. And then we went back out there, and everybody was like super mad at Orange. All of the staff was super mad at Orange. They weren't really helping her. So basically what I did was I just sat down with Orange. I didn't go and get dinner because I was sitting with her. And then they were like, are you refusing dinner? Straight up. Like, I felt like they were kind of mad at me. And I was like, can I eat it in there with Orange? And so I went in there with my dinner. And I asked Orange if she wanted dinner, and she said no, because they didn't even bother to ask her if she wanted any dinner. And anyways, she was progressively like getting more fucked up on the couch, to the point where it was like almost getting kind of scary. And several other patients were coming in there. One of them was also an 18-year-old ex-addict that came in there. And Orange was telling her like how many pills she took. And God, I was so pissed off because that other person was like, nice. And I was like, this isn't nice. This isn't cool. This isn't funny. And then the second person that came in there was Lindsay, the 30-year-old woman who brought the pills. And the 30-year-old woman was just like, oh shit, oh no. And so she was feeling very bad. And I eventually stayed there because they called the head nurse. So I stayed there past the time I was supposed to leave, to make sure she was okay before the second nurse got there. And we were basically just sitting there trying to get her to keep her eyes open because she was sort of like going into like a bit of a mini OD. And it was pretty scary. And anyways, as I was leaving, because the head nurse got there, Lindsay came outside and she was like, I told them that I did it. And I was like, okay. And then I left. And then I came back the next day and Lindsay was on the front porch and I talked to her and she was like, they're kicking me out because I gave Orange the pills. And I didn't give them to the pet. She didn't give Orange the pills, but she brought pills in the facility. In the next few days, something that really just like put me into perspective how bad being a drug addict is that like Orange would repeatedly come up to Lindsay and be like, are you sure you flushed the pills down the toilet? I saw her do it at least 5 times, and that's not even counting the times she did it whenever I wasn't there. So it was just crazy. And I was like trying to tell Orange how much Orange scared me. And if it was before Orange had taken all the pills, whenever she was still like a month sober, then I think she would have been able to realize how like crazy it is. But it's almost like the next few days after you do something crazy like that, you're still having like high brain. And so it was only like a week later to where Orange admitted, yeah, what I did was stupid. Orange ended up locking themselves in a treehouse in the treehouse that they had on site because they were so mad that Lindsay got kicked out. Anyways, towards the end, Orange got partial hospitalization and then they went home and they relapsed, and so they ended up getting transferred to a rehab. That was kind of a more sad story from the place. I didn't expect that to be so long. Sorry if that was boring. Basically, I don't think I really got anything out of the ED treatment facility. In retrospect, I feel like I didn't have to go. And I know before I went, I was like preaching. I was like, I really don't think I need to go here. I just want to get a dietitian and an ED specialist. And everybody was like, oh, just, you don't know what you're talking about. You're sick. And I understand that that is the case a lot of the time. And my thoughts were slightly distorted in the sense that I sort of was telling them that I just wasn't hungry, when in reality, it was a combination between my appetite being low and me, I totally could have still eaten if I wanted to. The only thing I really got out of that was seeing like what normal healthy eating habits are supposed to be like. Because I feel like I grew up my whole life thinking that people who ate 3 meals a day and ate like PB&Js and pizza and shit like that were like out of their minds or something. The next place I went to after that was the trauma place. This place was a lot more chill. I ended up renting a monthly renting an Airbnb. It wasn't my money. I'm not that rich. Getting an Airbnb down there. And so I got to come home every day after the trauma place. This place was super fucking nice. They actually treated you like a human. If you needed a break from group, if you were getting triggered, they let you have a break. And the therapy was actually helpful. They blended, a lot of it was very focused on parts work because it was a DID place. And I might just be biased because the place obviously helped me because I have DID. But they integrated elements of like CBT, parts work, like just a very trauma-informed model, and it was like super helpful. There were 4 groups a day. The people there were super nice. I met several other people with DID. And before I went there, I know it seems funny because I have like this whole DID channel, but like I knew that I had DID, but at the same time I was like, do I like really though? Like it's kind of crazy. Like there's no way I do. And I went there and honestly, like if I were to sit here and tell you about my childhood right now, it would sound so much worse coming out of my mouth than it does in my head. And so I sort of just like in the back of my head always have it like my childhood can't have been that bad for me to have DID. It was, and it's just, it's hard for me to accept that. I think it's also difficult when a lot of since people with DID obviously don't talk about their trauma a lot because they don't want to. And I think a lot of times people think they really want to know, but if they actually knew, it just wouldn't, you know? So I feel like people have this idea that if you have DID, your trauma was like fucking insane. And for a lot of people, it really is, I think. But for a lot of people, it's stuff that like normal people that you see on the street every day, like a lot of them have been through at least one of the things that contributed to your DID. But because you have DID, it was probably just a bunch of those little things, you know? Like everybody, like lots of people on the street, one of them had like an experience of SA, or one of them had a parent who was an addict, or a parent who was mentally ill, or emotionally unavailable parents. Like normal people off the street have like at least one of those things, but whenever you have DID, I feel like it's like a bunch of those things in combination with each other, you know? And so I think whenever I think about like certain things that are isolated, I'm just like, that's not that bad. But then whenever I sit there and I realize how much everything interplayed on each other, like it makes more sense to me. Anyways, I went in there just like not really thinking that I had it. And I think also part of the reason is because whenever I've told like people in my life, it feels like it's not taken very seriously, including mental health professionals. The amount of times I've had mental health professionals not believe me about my DID, even though I'm diagnosed, is fucking crazy. And once you get diagnosed, it changes a lot. But I've had people mistake my DID for autism, BPD, OCD. Like they somehow just thought I like OCD'd myself into having DID. This was one of the only places that I think was actually trauma informed, so that they actually understood that my DID was actually legit. Yeah, it was really fucking amazing. Like their work there was really amazing. I think mainly what it did for me was help me understand why this all happened, because I have all these issues and I have all these like disorders and symptoms, and I'm just sitting here like I have no idea how all of this happened. And now I do. It was a really brilliant place. And I'm really glad I got the opportunity to go there. Even if the ED facility sucked, I think that place was a lot better. This sort of leads me into my realizations about my recovery. I think one question that might be had is whether I am recovered, or at least recovering. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I think me completely recovering at this point in my life would be like pretty near impossible. And I think that's because of a couple reasons. One of the reasons is that I have to stay in regular contact with certain people in my life that are just very harmful for my mental health. And I have to for financial reasons and other sorts of reasons, because I'm a college student. I don't have any money. And then there is also the fact that I am not yet fully transitioned. I have not had top surgery. My testosterone has not had enough time to redistribute all my weight. And so I think that once those two things happen, once I'm at a place where I don't have to be in contact with those people anymore, which unfortunately I think is going to be a very long time. And once I'm more transitioned, I think I am pretty hopeful that I can recover. I am honestly like pretty uncomfortable with how much that I weigh right now, and I just wish that I weighed less. And so it's just like really hard to just eat like a normal person. And I really don't want to sound like I'm not trying, because I wish every day that I could just not do this. And it's not like I'm actively like restricting necessarily, but I'm not eating the recommended amount, and I feel like I'm not losing weight. So it's like if anybody's asking me to eat any more than I'm eating, it's like no. And there's just so many like aspects about trying to recover from an eating disorder that are like super tricky, and there's so much like anxiety and stuff, and so it's really difficult. And then I feel guilty whenever I'm not eating enough, and I feel guilty whenever I do. So it's a really shitty situation. Also, my hair is growing back. You can't really see it, but like there's these like short little strands. That's nice. I get like I think I have like PTSD from my hair falling out, because I like get so scared if any more of it's falling out than usual. I'm like, ha. So there's that. That was so hard. That was so scary when all my hair started falling out before. That's like one of the only things that's like stopping me from launching into a full relapse right now, is like the health issues that I got were so scary. Anyways, the thing about the people in my life is that I think for so long I've really convinced myself that like they're not as bad as they used to be. They're, you know, they help me, whatever. When in reality, it's sort of a survival mechanism to convince yourself that they're not as bad as they are. Because once you do, then you realize how fucked your situation is. And it really sucks realizing how fucked your situation is and still having to be in it. Which I feel like is sort of the whole basis of like trauma responses and DID, is trying to convince yourself by forming alters that your situation is not as fucked up as it really is, so that you don't have to live with that knowledge, because it's painful to see those people every day and know the damage that they do to you. Which, first of all, I want to stress that like I'm safe, like I'm not being hurt or anything, but it's just damaging to my mental health more than anything. If you have any questions down below, ask them to me. Also, let me know if you think this would be a good idea, but I thought about doing like a Q&A at one point, but I would be like embarrassed if I said at the end of the video, like, ask me questions, and then nobody did it, and then I wouldn't be able to make the Q&A. But just don't ask me questions necessarily like for that, but like just let me know if you would want one. And then, yeah, just any experiences you have with anything similar that I've talked about, I'd love to hear them. Or if you have any input on anything that I said, do you like my voice? I wish that I passed. I feel like it's going too slow. I get insecure about my transition. I'm 4 months on T, if you didn't know. I'm currently working on a video about dissociated. This is one that I'm like writing more and doing more research on, because I feel like this one might get more views, because I'm talking about like a bigger creator, and also a lot of people really don't like her. And so I'm trying to like make my shit airtight, you know what I mean? So that one might take a little longer, but I am working on one about them. So anyways, I love you. Thank you for watching my video. It's good to see you. Goodbye.